Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, November 14th, 2022. Call to order at 6:34 PM. What can we do in 1 minute?
You have 1 minute. Well, I can tell you
Meeting
that
minutes?
if we want to kill 1 minute, I can tell you that I like to pass over those items. I'm
Go
making
right
note of it. It's starting in section 6, I believe. It's the third read of the policies. Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, Fraud Prevention Policy, Whistleblowers, Workplace Violence Prevention, and Domestic Violence. And the reason for the passing over is just received edits from legal counsel midday today. So not enough time to really incorporate those in. I know the two of you haven't seen those yet, so we'll have to get those edits in there and bring them back.
Okay.
Okay. And was there one more?
It's the clothing allowance. It's the first draft, so we could read it as is. His recommendations are minor on that one. We can incorporate those for a second read.
Okay. Sounds good. With that, I will call the joint meeting with Recreation Commission to order at 6:35 PM.
Might have to
Join
grab
us at the table.
another chair.
Do you need more?
Nope, just Renee and I.
Okay. So we have a letter of interest for one of the vacancies.
Yes.
Any discussion, concerns?
I have no concerns with the letter from Jackie Boyden.
Correct.
No concerns?
No concerns on our part. We spoke
I
with
have no
Katie.
concerns.
Okay.
She was not able to attend due to work this evening, so
Understood.
Renee and I are here.
Excellent.
There's the rest of the board.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we appoint Jacqueline Boyden to the Recreation Commission. And that'll be through, we're doing June 30th?
Yes, please.
June 30th of 2023.
Second?
All those in favor, this is a roll call vote, correct, Brian?
Yes, roll call vote.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Real quick before you finish that,
Yes.
there are two vacancies currently, two with different expiring terms.
Oh,
And so it would assist Town Clerk Newton if the two boards could say what seat you're filling.
Because even though it's up at the next,
Still has to run for the next seat.
but it's
But
which
what seat is it running for?
remaining term, okay.
is there one that is up?
2024 and 2025.
Oh, okay. Does it matter? Do you have a preference?
Probably best to go for the 2025 because she's willing to join, and that way maybe another person that's interested maybe only wanted to do a year term.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, she's gonna have to rerun.
Rerun in 2023 anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we don't have to do it back to back to back.
Right, back to back, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need is that fine? Do you need an amendment on that?
Is
or-
that clear enough for you, sir?
Okay.
That's all set? Did you want to call the vote?
Yes, please.
Selectman Benbury?
Aye.
Selectman Bastrash?
Aye.
Chairman Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Tilo?
Aye.
And Commissioner Eichlin?
Aye.
Excellent.
So moved.
Still need one more.
Excellent.
So close.
So I will repost the last vacancy and the vacancy on the planning board beginning tomorrow. We'll give another deadline in December and see if we can recruit the last two vacancies.
All
Excellent.
right.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I am sure she will be sworn in quickly next week.
Yes.
Right? Thank you.
Do you want a motion to adjourn? the joint
Yeah,
meeting?
actually do, but we have a majority, so
Yeah.
please.
Motion to adjourn the joint meeting with the Recreation Commission.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Just too excited about
Yeah, about
having
filling.
membership. Next item of business is administration oath of office to patrol officers Gordon and Zomick and the introduction of canine officer Ziva. If you would all come up.
We're gonna stand for that.
Yeah.
So,
Just make sure we got everybody in the frame.
This one might not stay in the frame.
She's in, she's out, she's in.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
Good, chief?
so Richard asked me to say something, put me on the spot about 10 minutes ago. So I'd just like to introduce Officer Matt Ziomek. He's been with Amherst PD for 6 years, graduated 2017 from the Police Academy, and his wife Michaela is here with him. And Matt joined us just this month, back in October. Went through a couple weeks of training, and he's on his own working now. So he's been a pleasure to have, full academy trained, and he comes with additional trainings that has been very nice to have. And then Officer Gordon from Greenfield PD, 30 plus years on the job. She joined us recently back in June, and it's been a pleasure having both of these officers with the experience that they bring and the technicalities that they have and the expertise that they have. And in addition, we've added Ziva. She's, I'll let Laura maybe give a little bit about her, but she's just over a year old, and so I'll turn it over to Laura.
Yep, so she originally had been down in Virginia with an officer that did not work out, unfortunately. And, well, good for us, I guess. So she went to New Jersey to stay with an individual there who has been a long-time bloodhound handler. And she also has a rescue and was looking to have Ziva join a law enforcement agency. And I was notified that they were looking to place her. And we were lucky enough that she came up here. We did some work with her and has joined us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excited to have you all.
Yes.
Mr. Newton?
And real quick, I'm sorry, Chairman Smith.
Yes, sir.
And Laura is here with her son, Nick.
Yep.
Sorry.
The floor is yours, sir.
So we will swear the two of you in, so please raise your right hand. And do you, Matthew Ziamak and Laura Gordon, solemnly swear to faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as an appointed police officer for the town of Erving?
I do.
Do you promise to bear true faith and allegiance to and uphold and defend the constitutions of the United States of America and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Do you solemnly swear that you will never betray your badge, your integrity, your character, or the public trust, always having the courage to hold yourself and others accountable for their actions?
I do.
All right. So you are both hereby sworn in as police officers for the town of Erving, along with our new canine, Ziva. So, congratulations. Certificate.
Dick, we just need.
Dick.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, yes. Here I was wanting you to get them.
I know.
I need the officers to sign these forms, please.
There's always paperwork. We are lucky to have both of our new officers and welcome you aboard. Obviously have been with us a little while. Officer Gordon and newly Officer Zomack. So it was good to see him, have him actually come and be able to do that.
It is.
It's been
It's
a
been a while.
while
It's
since
been a while.
COVID. We haven't been able to do the oaths, so appreciate you both joining us tonight. And excited to see our K-9 program already starting. Quick work from the team, we appreciate it.
Hopefully this spring we'll have a certification and actually be out, called for service. So.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything for the officers? We're good?
Nope.
I'm good.
Okay. Next is discussion regarding the animal control and inspector of animal services.
We had hoped to have the presentation of the MOU from the town of Athol for today's meeting. It hasn't been received yet, so Chief and I will follow up and see where that stands. So if we can carry that for one more meeting.
Okay. Can do. Review of the proposed activities coordinator position description. Paula, would you join us? Welcome.
Thank you.
Package should be the revised position description. I believe I captured the 2 edits you all requested at the last meeting with a recommended grading.
I know there's been a lot of discussion by the board and with you and with you, Brian, about whether the essential functions and the job duties line up with the job title. And I think at the end of the last meeting, we came to understand that an activities coordinator is commonly expected to do
Correct.
the duties that are listed within,
Correct.
even if it feels odd to the table, if I'm speaking
Yeah.
accurately for,
Yep.
for my fellow members here. So, so I think we finally wrapped our heads around that.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
if there's any other questions, concerns around this.
Nope.
I'm comfortable with the addition to statement of duties and the supervisory responsibilities. And I'm willing to move forward with the new job description for that position.
Agreed. And thank you, Brian, for reaching out to the other communities to show, titles and roles.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, very much so.
All right. Was that a motion, Bill?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we accept the job description for activities coordinator of the senior and community center, effective this date.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So from there, timing, I'm assuming you're looking to start recruiting right away?
I would say we could start advertising
Yes.
in the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Holidays become a little challenging to
Yeah.
conduct the search, so we want to make sure we give enough time to get materials and with the expectation of reviewing and maybe interviewing candidates in January.
Yep. That would be the goal.
Yep.
That would be the goal.
Excellent.
Right.
I would just say, I agree, and holidays, it is tough. It feels like a long time to say it's not due until January, or we don't close it till January, but I
Right.
also know end of year for people, some, want to change jobs until January, until the holidays are
Right.
passed, so
Right.
I'll leave it to,
Okay.
The
Well,
two
we're
of
going to
you to
do it as
sort that out.
expedient as we can.
Absolutely.
It's just that there might be people that have to take a day off or can't do whatever. But our goal is to have this happen as soon as possible. And I appreciate it very much that you guys now understand that most senior centers do have this position. So that's great. And I appreciate Brian. Tried to give him a lot of data too, so thank you.
Yes.
it helped.
Yes. Thank you, Paula.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. So we'll probably be looking to do a screening committee at some point.
We
So
can bring a recommendation to you all for your next meeting.
please,
You got it?
anything else on that one?
I'm all set.
Okay. Review of the bloodborne pathogen exposure control plan policy, fourth read.
I'm going to start out by apologizing to Brian that I did not get you my edits before tonight. And there's a lot of just small edits. Nothing. The only ones I'm going to bring up tonight are going to be the ones related to anything with context, but or substance. If it's just a typo or we can do those offline.
Okay.
You want me to just run through a couple of them?
Please. Sure. You mean the grammatical or the substantive?
The substantive.
Please.
I would change under purpose. We have it as public safety employees, but we're listing school as well. So I would change that to all employees. Or just leave it as employees. I see that you made the changes under work practices.
In section 7?
Yeah, in section 7, and you consolidated down the 4, instead of repeating those 4 over and over and over, which is great. I would just get more specific under the first one of Don gloves. We have reference to different style gloves, and I think the general universal precaution is healthcare gloves, and just putting that one in there.
As the first Don glove specific?
Yeah, the one it just says Don gloves. The rest, I believe, are just like grammatical or typos. So I'm gonna hold off on those, and I can send those to you.
Okay.
They change nothing other than a typo here or there.
Should, just to add to Don gloves, if we're going to say healthcare gloves, unless there's a specific other glove required or recommended. Because it's not every one of them has that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, in our last select board meeting, I know we had some discussion about the healthcare gloves, and I'm not exactly sure what the definition of a healthcare gloves are, but in the area when it comes to interacting with needles or syringes or anything of that nature, I just want to be sure that healthcare gloves are adequate and not have to specify puncture proof
We can
or needle
absolutely-
proof.
We can absolutely specify that.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe just under general work practices, like you said, just edit it and just say, don appropriate gloves for a situation, i.e. healthcare gloves,
Right.
stick-proof gloves. There's different that we'll have on hand in the cruisers, in the fire trucks, in the vehicles, all of them.
So later in section 11, we had used obviously Don healthcare gloves.
Yeah.
And we specified neoprene nitrile.
Right.
So I could add that clarity in that first bullet.
Okay.
And then we can also make the reference to using puncture-proof gloves when handling syringes.
I would just say sharps.
Any sharps.
Any
Yeah.
sharps.
Yeah.
Anything else in there?
Nope.
The appendix of the attachments are subject to change as they change, I assume? So we'll have to just update it if those forms.
in a very long time, but.
Saw
in
some of the
theory.
dates.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most of those forms have been the same for a decade or more, but.
Okay. Anything else of note?
No, I would just remind all of us that this policy is pretty extensive and is going to require extensive training with it, as well as training on the documents and forms and steps to take to do that. And so we need to allot time and for the training, adequate training. And
To that point, we have a safety committee meeting this week, and these policies are coming out of that safety committee work, and we meet quarterly. So we'll be, assuming you all would be willing to approve as amended, we would be bringing this policy to that committee to start that discussion about how we are going to train on this policy for staff, putting together that assignment.
So if we approve an issue as amended, let's assume, do we really want to set an effective date of now if we aren't sure when our implementation plan will be complete? Because does it make sense to have a policy like this in-depth, in place, but we haven't trained people yet?
You're just asking when it's effective versus when it's issued?
Correct.
That-
Or maybe that's
It's
a
a fair
question to
question.
my
Yeah, that's
fellow
a fair
board members
question
than
for the three of you.
you, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that, to your point about, it's taken us a while too. to
yeah,
review it.
thinking back on times when we've, in law enforcement, when we've been involved in specific trainings, generally, I believe the policy was already accepted. But people didn't sign off on it until that date, individuals.
I would like to see the policy in place before we ask
Right.
anybody to do training based on a policy. It has to be in existence before we can train them.
Okay. So, do you guys want another read, or do you want to approve tonight? And if you do, would one of you like to make a motion?
So I'm fine with it. Just know I have maybe, a half dozen. They're just little edits. They change nothing of substance. There was something that was past tense, had a D on it, take it off. It's not, things like that. They don't, so I'm fine if you want to have it approved as amended this evening. I don't need another read on
I'm
it.
fine.
Same.
All right, well, that being said, I'll make a motion that we approve the bloodborne pathogen exposure control plan policy, HSP-001, as amended this evening with an effective date of 11/14/2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, and we can take 2 seconds at the end of the meeting
Yeah,
and
just
just
finish
get them
it.
to you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Review of the police department policy 1.22, co-response clinician policy, third read. Chief, you're welcome to join us if you want for the policies.
I'm not gonna lie. This is great.
Listen, we're all just jealous that you're down
that's
there
why I
playing with
waited,
Ziva
'cause-
and we're up here,
I'm like, I'd rather be in the audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nobody faults you for that
Oh, no,
one
no
bit.
worries, no worries. So third read on the co-response clinician policy.
Has anything come up on your end that, edits or changes? I mean, we haven't made any to it. It was well read the first couple of reads. We just wanted to make sure that there was nothing else that had changed.
Can we have an update on how the program is going so far?
Sure. Selectman Benberry, it's amazing. We're seeing about, last time we ran the numbers, about an 86, 87% jail diversion and or hospital diversion. So the program is
That's
it's-
outstanding.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm sure those numbers will come down. You know, obviously because we're not going to be dealing with as many people as we were initially, because they're getting the help that they're needed. So we're not responding 3, 4, 5 times a month. Maybe we're going to not respond for several months. So those numbers will come down, but it's been very successful.
However, along with that, your call numbers will also come down,
Yes.
which is, what you're looking for.
Yeah. And our mental health clinician, she does a lot of outreach. So she's following up with these people, which is probably preventive maintenance in itself, where we're not getting calls. She's responding there weekly or every couple weeks to address issues or to just check on people. So,
Excellent.
So she's proactive?
oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she runs circles around some of us. So. She's amazing, and she's a great fit too. She meshes well with all the officers, and I'm so thankful that we did the program.
Excellent.
Good.
I assume the same in the other towns and other departments? It's been
Yes.
going great?
Yeah. That 87, 86, 87 is throughout all the towns, not just Erving.
Yeah.
We're seeing certain towns are busier than what we thought they would be, and so it's been kind of an eye opener. But it's been good with all the towns. And it's been nice too because it's really kind of brought us all together again as departments. We just had a training last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, I think it was last Wednesday. And Northfield was there, Gill was there, Erving and Barneston was there. And it was just nice having all the officers together to talk and socialize and train together. So
Excellent.
it's been good.
Good.
Excellent. No real changes that I saw from last read.
No.
Yeah.
Are those the right effective and issue dates? That, I don't,
I think you need to change the
Effective date?
effective date. The issue date was the date that Chief submitted it to you. But the effective date, I think we need to revise.
Yeah.
I probably just put a date in there.
It was when, yeah.
that's fine. I know sometimes we backdate these because of the time of the program, but in this case, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think no conversation. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to adopt policy and procedure number operations 1.22, co-response clinicians, issue date of 8/29/22, with an effective date, revision date of Monday, November 14, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Don't go too far. I don't know if we have questions, but we have more for you.
Yeah.
Review of Police Department Policy 1.23, mounted electric bike policy, third read.
And that's actually your second read. Because it was missing from the packet
Correct.
last meeting by accident, so.
Okay. Thank you. I'll explain why I didn't feel as familiar as the third read.
Yeah, it's not. I don't have any issues with the policy the way it's written. I would just ask, how's it going?
Good. Officer Barber, he was most recent to go to school, 3-day course. So we have Officer Gordon, Officer Zomack, and Officer Barber that are certified and able to operate them. And myself, I don't get out on it much. Obviously, now that it's winter and cold,
Yeah.
we're not doing it. But when Laura had first come on, she was actually on it quite a bit.
Nice.
I want to say at least maybe a couple, out of her 4-day cycle, at least two times. And she even took it to a few different functions in town, so it's been good.
Excellent.
It was a very nice donation.
Are there particular areas the bike is going to be used in?
I think we kind of wanted to use it for Laurel Lake during the summertime. Irving Center, the park, if there's an event going on. you know, and then kind of just break it down into the sectors of towns. Obviously, we're not going to be taking it back and forth on Route 2.
Right, right.
But the officer
don't.
that's using it, well, it could.
In the new bike lanes?
It actually goes pretty quick. The officer that is on it for that day understands that the cruiser is equipped with the bike rack, so they can go
Yeah.
from one end of town to the other end of town, and/or we do it when there's two of us on. So that's
Okay,
typically what
okay.
Officer Gordon and I was doing. There was two of us on, and she would ride it, so.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much just, you know, I think the first day that she took it out, she took it down, parked somewhere down in center town and hit some of the roads, and then she parked it down here, hit a section of the roads.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Any questions or concerns on it?
I have none.
No?
I saw a grammatical thing or two. I'll connect with you after, Brian.
Yep.
It's a major. Okay, we'll continue for a third read next meeting.
Thank you, Chief.
I think that's it, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I didn't think you'd hear me. All right, and we passed over those. We're on to review the revised traffic regulations draft, third read.
All the changes should be in red. Except for your charts in the appendices, the changes I made were simply to alphabetize all the streets
Mm-hmm.
so they're easy to search. The other thing I did, and this is just for alignment with how the town code will read in the future, I added all of the subsection references.
Okay.
So if you look at the left-hand column, you'll see a subsection reference under each of the articles referring to each of the sections. That is how the town code is structured. So I made those changes. Content-wise, everything else is the same.
Now, those are just going to be references, right? Digitally, they won't be any hyperlinks or anything, correct?
These won't.
They won't.
These won't be hyperlinks. We had discussed
For the
when we
fees-
work on the
fees and
table.
fines.
Yep.
Okay.
But this will at least give specific reference points if somebody's trying to cite a section of the regulation.
Yep.
We have one spot highlighted in yellow there around the curb.
I'm missing an official for that. Let's see.
As in department? You mean that's authorized?
Who's authorized to do that? Portion of a curbing the painting which has been authorized.
I think he's sitting in the back.
I was gonna say that.
That may be appropriate to be the highway superintendent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Okay.
Since we're speaking of you, sir, back there, any concerns, questions, comments?
Not tonight.
Okay. Too bad if you don't want your name there.
It's gonna spend like, that's okay. Just kidding.
Tough crowd. The dog left. It's no fun anymore. Questions, comments, concerns with it?
I have no concerns.
1 second.
Hmm?
I thought I had something from earlier, and didn't highlight it. So, under Article 10, penalties and appeals, are you going to do the subsections? Is that what's going to be hyperlinked? And it's going to bring them back to the appendix, or just the appendix in the
Right.
reference
So
at the end?
we're going to cross-reference this reference to the appendix and the appendix back to the
Okay.
violations. That's
Just
what
want
I
to make sure that
recall you
it's-
all asking
Yeah,
for.
well, yeah, I want the double redundancy. So either one, if they're either here or at the appendix, they can hyperlink back to the actual fee schedule.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
As long as it's in both spots, that's all.
But I did, obviously, that only works for the database.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for a printed version. So I wanted to clarify in that final sentence in the penalties paragraph,
On file.
it says it'll be on file with the town clerk's office, which I believe was the decision that the three of you made about
Yes.
how this is all going to be handled going forward.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's on file there, but hyperlinked on the
Right.
website.
Yep.
That's the only one. I just wanted to make sure it was double.
Should we put language that's just references that as the most current? Because what's in a printed copy might not be,
Fair enough.
right? I mean, if we're gonna have something where someone takes a printed copy and then we've modified the fee schedule, after that, they have a printed copy that says it's not.
I think just on the, yeah, so you're talking about on that fee schedule, just make a notation on that this can be updated, you know.
I think on that, and then on that line that says that it's on file, I think I would just recommend we change it to,
The most current.
and the most up-to-date or
Right.
most current fee schedule is
Yeah.
on file.
Sure, but I also think on the fee schedule itself is that, and I don't remember, we haven't created that yet.
No, because it's going to be an aggregation of
Of
all of
multiple-
the regulations, so boards of health and other authorities that
Right,
have.
I think just making sure that we put a notation on there that, that these are subject to change.
Right.
Because if somebody prints one off and takes
Right.
it home, I just want to make sure that they're looking at the most,
And the current version's on file with town clerk.
right, if they have any
Yep.
questions, they can go back.
And obviously, we'll have an updated date on it, or last,
Yeah,
last adopted date or whatever.
Yeah,
and then-
revision date or.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
then that can be referenced if someone has a different copy. Well, that's been modified. Here's the current.
Right.
That in your highlight was the only things I had. Did you?
Yeah, no, I have nothing to add to that. I assume the clerk would be the deciding factor when determining if that's the latest copy.
Correct. I know that
there
when
was
we
a
had this
dispute.
Right.
conversation before, there was a question if, say, the Board of Health had taken a vote on new regulations and set fees, but had yet to record that decision with the town clerk, what was
Okay.
in effect. And my recollection is, yes, they can make the vote at their meeting if they have that authority, but until they record it with the town clerk,
Right.
the new fees are not in effect.
Right.
Okay. You didn't find what you were.
Nope, I'm all set. It was the question about the penalties and the double redundancy, making sure it was hyperlinked in
Okay,
both spots.
Got it. Got it. Well,
That's
we
all.
just covered.
So
Okay.
I'm good to go.
Okay. What's our process forward? Just remind me, because the old regs are just, what are the old regs?
What do you mean, what other?
How are they adopted?
Just
by
by
the
the select board, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, per the chapter and section that's escaping at this exact moment, you have the authority to set the regulations.
Okay.
I think if we are going to adopt the town code process, I was trying to think of the right way for you to word your language. The town code was suggesting that you're going to assign this chapter 360, I believe.
Yeah.
So incorporating that numbering scheme into your vote for the traffic rules and orders.
So you're just saying if we adopt this, to adopt it as,
As chapter,
also known as Chapter 360 in the town code, in
Right.
the upcoming town code.
Right.
Okay.
And then
We have a 0 at the top, I don't know. I'm assuming that's just a typo, it's not something that's supposed
It's
to be there?
under the bold
Right
line.
under the break line, under the seal?
yeah, I don't know why that's there.
Okay, it's not left over from something missing, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
You know what? When I was formatting the regulations and trying to add our approach for how you sign off on things, there were a few attempts to get the formatting right, and I'm wondering if just something like a little leftover character was there. But yeah, no, everything, content-wise, everything is exactly in the order that it should be. Would you want me to make any of these final changes and bring it back one last time?
I don't think anything
What-
that was
what
proposed
are the
tonight was
changes?
for
I would need to make the change to identify the highway superintendent to handle curb markings. I think that was the only substantive.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say that was the
appendix,
only one.
Just to say,
Okay.
most up-to-date copy was,
Yeah.
On file.
I have no need to see it again.
Nope.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adopt as amended?
I will make a motion to approve Chapter 360 of the code titled Regulation, and the title is Traffic Rules and Orders, as amended on 11/14/2022, with an effective date of 11/14/2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are crossing some off the list.
Yes, there are some coming
That
out.
does feel like an accomplishment. I'll
Yeah,
take it.
that's a long one.
Yes, it is.
That's been on the books for about 2 years to get done.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say it supersedes 1962, so it's
Yeah, I
been
was
on for
gonna
a
say
while.
1962.
But, review of meeting minutes from October 3rd, 2022.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of Monday, October 3rd, 2022 as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting minutes of October 31st, 2022.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of Monday, October 31st, 2022 as written.
Any discussion on those?
None.
Yeah, second.
Yeah.
Did you second?
No, I did. The
Okay.
first one I did.
Did you second the second one?
No.
No, there was no second.
Not yet.
Just if there was any.
You chimed in real quick, and I thought you had concerns about the first one, so I
No.
hadn't seconded it. Second.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I jumped ahead. And then I heard him speak up, and I thought there was something wrong.
No?
Any discussion on
None.
31st? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And pass over November 7th? Did I miss those? Did not miss those. I did miss those. Meeting minutes of November 7th.
The meeting minutes of November 7th, was that the executive session?
Yeah,
Correct.
it's the one.
I
it-
missed the page because it's so short.
Yeah.
It's the one page.
Yep.
It's the one page after the traffic orders.
I make a motion, we accept meeting minutes / executive session minutes of
No.
November.
These aren't executive session.
Nope. These
No,
are these are your regular
Okay.
meetings.
These are the regular session to show that we went into
Oh,
executive,
okay.
but these are
Okay.
just regular.
Of November 7th, 2022. That was my issue, yeah.
Got it.
Second.
No discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Review and issuance of the 7th water commitment in the amount of $40 for water trough charges at 3 Gun Street. Make a motion, we issue the 7th warrant. Water commitment.
Sorry, I was reading something. I
No,
got
that's fine.
sidetracked.
That's fine. In the amount of $40.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's right next to you.
Yep.
Thank you. Discussion regarding electronic and bulk waste collection and procedures at Public Works. Superintendent McCrory, would you join us? Please. So I'll give a little background to start the conversation and we'll kind of go from there. Brian, you sent something over late today, right, about
Yep.
that, or midday today? Yep. So as this new textile ban and mattress updates, I guess, if you will, or more discussion around mattress restrictions has come up the last couple of months, we became aware that some of things that we have been taking historically, we need to handle differently than we do now if we want to continue to take them. And so the way they have to be stored or contained or handled or, you know, all of those sorts of things, basically, generally are all different or need to be different if we want to continue to do those things. So high level, that's some of the conversation that's been going on. Before we start proceeding down a path to understand what, more formally, what are the requirements, we'd have to get certain registration with DEP and all of those sorts of things to do this stuff. I wanted to bring it to the board to have a discussion about what things do we want to do before we start spending money down that path, and to even seeing what the costs are, because there's preliminary costs just to understand the cost, right? And I think in some cases it could be a year process, and give or take from what we're hearing, right? So, high level, that's kind of where we are. Welcome lots of, any questions you all have that we can answer. And then, if we do everything that we've kind of considered in the past, we're starting to get to a point of like what they would define as a transfer station, even though we're not necessarily taking regular trash. So it could get complex. So I just kind of think you bulleted kind of the different items and kind of what we assume is kind of collection categories in terms of the handling, right, and the way that we may have to permit or go through. So, if we want to do those things, and just for the audience, it's like our leaves and brush, scrap metal, white goods or appliances, tires, electronics, and fluorescent bulbs, and then mattresses is more complex now.
Clean
Whether
and
they're
dry.
clean and dry, and whether they're not, and they have to be checked in by an attendant. They can't be just brought, and there's a lot of nuance to mattresses as well. So those are kind of high level, some of the categories that we came up with through the discussions. I think that covers pretty much all of them.
All right,
That's,
so
I'm just starting. So
I was going
continue the conversation.
So
from there.
my concern on this is I'm not interested in pursuing a full transfer station operation. I don't think, we don't collect our own household waste as it is. We outsource that. I don't think we have to start incorporating the opportunity to take household waste at our highway garage. That's one of the items. The other one is bulky waste, which could include furniture or wet and moldy mattresses. I think if those are the only two items that are really sort of the next step to be able to go for a full transfer station, I don't think we need to go through that process. There's other opportunities for other outlets for people to get those bulky items. They still qualify under our anything goes, correct? Furniture. So if somebody puts a small chair out or something like that.
Well, it may, that may change.
Right, those are subject to
Also-
change annually, and depending on what the regulations are, of what's
Correct.
acceptable, what's not. But even so, there's other opportunities, there's other larger, full-scale transfer stations that, locally that they can bring those to. And the fees are pretty standard across. I've utilized many of them as far up as Vermont, all the way down, to locally one town over, and the fees are all similar.
I think it has to be, from understanding Jan, the towns can't change their fees on certain recyclable goods. It's the fee is set and that's what it is.
Yeah, so, but as far as, if according to your memo, the the general permit, which is a little bit easier. We can do it in-house with the assistance of Jan, and get that going, and that continues us the ability to do mostly what we're doing, or what we were doing before it was brought to light. I mean, I would ask, do you have any concerns with continuing that, or what are your concerns if we were to adopt a general permit that would resume those collections?
Other than the mattresses, I don't have any concerns. Mattresses, I have the same concerns as what you do, and as of handling other people's mattresses, whether
Yeah.
they're clean, dirty, or not, along with the staff.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be.
I mean, so we can, we have the right to limit anything we take. We don't have to do all of those bullets. We can just not take mattresses. There is plenty of places that do that. Especially since we have to have an attendant there.
But I think there has to be for
For-
any of it. You still have other paid items.
Yeah.
I think there has to be restricted hours. Right now, I get a phone call, somebody wants to make an appointment to bring something down that they paid for. We're not always down there, so somebody has to run back, or I have to call the treatment plant, see if somebody's there, to make sure somebody's met. And it's all hours of the day, Monday through Friday.
And that's actually a requirement of DEP. That's one of the
That somebody has to be,
formalizations, that we have to have set hours. We can't have this unrestricted access,
Right.
because it does lead to people dumping at night or on the weekends.
Yep.
And sometimes they're dumping items that can't be collected through those means. So that's actually a condition of the DEP process, that we actually have to explain what our hours are and what the staffing plan looks like.
And there's all kinds of changes. I say all kinds, but they're various in how we store, what we store them in, what we, how we store all of these different items that have some initial cost to set
Yeah.
up
You
beyond
talk
what we
about,
have today.
Right.
pads, cover,
But like Connex boxes,
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
it seems to be everything needs to be dry and clean now to be a recyclable unit.
Yeah.
And then there's ongoing staffing costs and other things to
Yeah.
do these things. So
I-
I just wanted to bring that, and we don't have to make a decision tonight.
I was gonna
just
say-
wanted to start the thought process about where do we want to go before we spend money down a path that maybe we get so far we decide not to when we figure out like the full scope of what it takes for something. But
Yeah, so
do we even want to
principally,
start
I
down
was
some of those?
principally I was going to say, I'm in favor of looking into what it would take to just do a general permit, and that entails, what's the cost to the town? What's the, I don't think it's reasonable to take our current staffing, add in the requirement of manning the department to be there to operate and accept those at any, we have a certain staffing pattern right now for the job that they have by adding the duties and responsibilities of manning a transfer station, or, I don't want to call it a transfer station, but the recycling activities.
Yeah,
So
general
we're looking at adding a new staff member. What are those costs going to be? What are the hours going to be? I wouldn't mind having that conversation and seeing where it goes, especially if it can dovetail into budget cycle. Is it feasible? I don't know of any recycling station that is open 40 hours. I mean, I think Montague has like 4 hours on a Wednesday and 4 hours on a Saturday. Or so, it's it's a very part-time position. Yeah,
I think Leverett's 3 days a week, but that's,
a few hours each
Yep.
day. It's not even a full 8-hour day.
Nope.
So
And they don't have curb collection, so that's different.
because they're collecting
household,
household.
yeah, they're
trash
doing
and
a full
recycling.
household.
Where
yeah.
Montague, maybe they do as well, but they have curbside.
Montague's
Correct. They
curbside.
outsource
So
their
it's
curb.
a little more like that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I just, and it may, I don't know, we're thinking it may take a year or so, so yes, it might be in the next budget cycle, but it probably wouldn't be
Well,
in place.
I think that was to be a full
The full transfer
Full
station. is
transfer
okay.
a
station
year.
and permitting.
Okay,
That takes a
And
year.
you
design
think the
build,
general-
it was estimated a year.
Yeah, the general permit's pretty quick, right? I mean,
Sounded like we could have it, the whole process done in about 30-ish to 45 days.
yeah,
Oh, geez, okay.
yeah,
How quickly?
30 to 45 days. It's all done in-house.
Right.
No
but
cost to
In
get the
30
permit.
30 or 45 days, we'd have to have someone on board to,
I think we, I
Maybe-
mean, we can
If you're
file
gonna
it
go that
and get
route.
it approved.
Well, hang on, let me back up a little bit. I don't know how long DEP would take, 30 days sounds really short. I'm just gonna say that, no offense to DEP. The processing time. We have ceased taking any of these because we can't right now. So, we're doing no collection of these items, with the exception of leaves,
Leaves and brush.
leaves and brush. That's the only
And
thing right now.
e-waste.
I'm sorry?
And the e-waste is still being collected.
Right, the computers and
Yep.
televisions.
so the description is leaves and, what did you say?
Right now,
Right.
leaves and brush.
Has to be
and-
mulched before they're
No,
brought to the
so
station.
the requirement is that the town, before, they can't just leave it and let it decompose. They have
Yeah.
to either mulch it themselves so it can decompose
Right,
and become,
right.
say, a compost pile.
Right.
Or they have to outsource that and have somebody come in and compost it. We've done that before in the past.
Just haul it out.
Just haul it out, you
Yeah.
know, one or the other. There's companies that'll come in and just haul that waste out, so then they'll use it for compost.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, you're not finding
No.
anybody?
No, because it comes because of the cost of fuel now in the process of doing it, it's now a service from a lot of these companies now, so it's a charge.
Yeah, well, when I
It's a-
said
it's a
they'll come and
trucking
do it,
charge.
it's not for free. I wasn't.
It used to be for
Yeah,
free.
used to be.
because they used to want the material to make their,
Correct,
you know,
up
it used to be
until
a
a few
trade-off.
weeks ago.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's a moneymaker.
It just happened a few weeks ago from a local one.
Yeah.
So, leaves and brush and e-waste, computers and TVs are the only things we're accepting right now. Became aware of this, we can't take until we permit, change, whatever we need to do if we want to. But those are the only things we're taking now, so whether or not that's done in 30, 45 days, we aren't open, so we reopen whenever we are ready to,
Right.
based on staffing plan and budget, whatever that is, so, all of those variables.
Yep. But I'm not opposed to looking at what that looks like and what that would take.
All of the general
The
items?
general, yeah.
Okay,
the
including mattresses?
general. I mean,
at this point?
it's part of the discussion.
Okay.
I'm not sure that, you know,
Yeah, I don't know what the end state will be, but
the
just
end state
in
might
terms
be
of
no.
scoping.
It's
Okay.
part of the discussion because it's part of the general permit that's available.
Okay.
Would you like Glenn and I to put together a proposal for you all to look at your next meeting? With some recommendations and cost estimates?
Is that enough time for the two of you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Got this.
Make it so, no.
One thing I will ask, and the rest of the staff will too, is whenever there are set hours or whatever the operation is that it gets advertised. Again, we can only advertise as much as people will read it. Because the last time it closed, that we had problems, people were stopping, residents were stopping at employees' houses and complaining about the gates being closed. And it's not fair to the employees.
No.
No.
So
not.
somehow we need to find a way to stop that also.
Put a gate up to the transfer station with a sign, and if it's closed, it's closed.
Yeah, there was a gate up with a closed sign on it before and people
Well,
were
that, yeah,
stopping.
but that's the outer gate, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about where the landfill is, and if you're going to use that area.
Yeah,
No,
To
what he's saying
transfer.
is that was locked and
Right.
there was a.
because of illegal dumping.
Right, and that was
Right.
shut down, but
Right.
people would go down, see it was shut down, leave there and stop by highway department, people's
Oh, right,
houses that
yeah.
live in town and say, why is
Yeah,
that
well,
closed? I
that's
need to
not
dump some
kosher.
stuff.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, we can't tell every resident, you know, we can put out notices of
Correct.
appropriate behavior and, you know, when people should be approached and what, you know, working hours are, and, you know, it's not appropriate to be stopping by after hours to ask somebody
Right.
why they can't dump their stuff, you know.
Right.
Send an email, call them on their office phone,
Exactly.
you know, leave a message. You can ask your questions and we can answer those, but
Hopefully, if it's Hopefully it helps a little bit if there's a sign with hours, so
Right.
you don't have to like the hours, but at least you know there is another time, it's not just closed.
And
Closed is a
ahead
little
of
more-
time, before any of this happens, there'll be full disclosure through all media sources to the
Correct.
residents
Yep,
on,
that's what I was asking for.
Yeah.
on why and what the repercussions are to.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
it.
ultimately, if we can have this conversation in conjunction with budget season, this could be something that we stay status quo until after annual town meeting. I mean, we could push it out to that far, and, you know, in the spring, at annual town meeting, have a discussion about how we're gonna be accepting and what we're gonna be accepting and what the hours are. And partly because if we are gonna need a new staff member, we're gonna want the funding for that. So maybe those have to align at the same time.
Well, and some of it might require cement work and things like that.
Correct.
Which we're probably
Yeah.
getting outside of wanting to afford to do with heating blankets or anything for this kind of project, so. It's gonna be in the spring
It'll
or
be a
summer
spring
anyway, at
project
this
as
point
far as-
probably, before we can get everything in place,
Correct.
if we wanted to do all of those things.
Right. But,
Just a side note, is that something we can do in-house? Like pads?
Not the size of them, no. I would feel more comfortable if it was done. We could prep for them, and then the concrete guy would just come in and
Right,
pour
right,
them and
right.
finish them.
Right.
But we could prep them for them,
Okay,
yep,
that reduces the cost.
yeah.
Okay.
you don't wanna go out with a little electric mixer and mix up, 87 yards of concrete,
80-pound bags at a time.
4-day project. Somebody else will come in and pour it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done the 4-day project with 80-pound bags. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
fun.
No, thank you. I guess, and it's probably where you're heading anyway, and I don't know what my fellow members here think, but especially if it's going to be attended and such, probably putting everything behind the gated area so that it's not, I know there's things, spread around or had been where it's accessible.
Yeah, some was
even
in
if
the
you're just
front.
open for regular business
Yeah.
and in and out, and that, I think, based on the scope, would want to have it all secured.
I
Yeah,
agree.
everything behind the gate,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah. The only, I didn't know, and so the only reason I bring this one up is if you look at Montague as an example, leaves and debris don't need any attendant. So they have theirs on the outside.
So they do, we end up with pallets, picket fences underneath the leaf pile at our place.
Okay.
Couch cushions. Unfortunately, it's all thrown in the bottom of the truck. They put the leaves and the brush on top of it,
And then
unload
just-
it all at once and hope that the wrong material stays on the bottom. Happens all the time.
Okay.
We do leaf pickup, so at the end of the day, I know sometimes timing's not great with leaves and falling,
Yeah,
but.
no,
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
And it's currently out behind the gate also,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I think you were thinking, making it
If
more
there's, yeah,
accessible.
more I was thinking of, is there a way to make it more accessible? I wasn't taking into account, sometimes I forget that people are, not as kind and will do some devious things. So I wasn't taking that into consideration when I was gonna make my suggestion that maybe we could reconfigure it so that a leaf pile could still be accessible,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, no,
40
I knew
hours
where
a
you were
week.
going with it.
But clearly, if there's already illegal dumping in a service such as just a leaf pile, maybe it does need to be more restricted.
Yeah.
So, especially if we're going to be the ones to be paying somebody else to come get it, I'm sure they're not going to want to find out when they go to pick up that pile of leaves that it's got 16 pallets and a
Well,
couch
that,
buried under it.
in the brush pile, so DEP regulates how large your brush pile can be also. They were recommending today that it be chipped every 6 months.
I didn't catch that.
DEP regulates how big your brush
Right.
pile can be out there also.
Yeah.
They don't want like a 300-yard brush pile out there. So they made a recommendation today that every 6 months, they would like to see the brush pile chipped. And now that they're aware of this, they made it very clear that
They'll be
they
stopping down.
They will be
Maybe
making stops
Yeah.
whenever they would like.
Yeah. So it looks
And
like
we're
a-
not looking to hide anything.
No, no,
You
no.
know, this
So
is
a
all
spring and a
guidance thing
fall,
now.
you know, a spring and a fall
Yeah.
cleanup twice a year.
Yeah, so fortunately, there's a couple land clearing companies that have what they call a tub grinder, where
Yeah.
it'll do stumps, brush, they'll mix anything up in it as a wood form, and then they'll just put it into a pile of chips, and we can mix it into leaves.
We don't have one of those?
Not that big.
Oh, come on.
Would you
No.
like us to get a price on one?
Sure, absolutely.
So the regulation is just that it has to be ground, so you could have somebody come in, pay the fee for their time to come in and grind it, and we can still leave it on site.
Yes.
And let it compost, but it has to go through that process.
Has to go through that process. Can't be left as brush.
Right, okay.
And if it's turned into compost, we can then use that product.
I was gonna
throughout
say,
town.
then it becomes a product that we have for use in town. So we're paying for it, but we're probably paying less than what we'd do if we went out and had to buy compost for,
Correct, but it's like a 2 to 3 year process
Yeah.
to get leaves and everything to break down
Right.
So you
for a
need,
usable state.
and you need enough space to have piles you're turning and the new piles, right?
Right.
You gotta have like all of those stages.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a problem,
To space.
the space. Because we pick up probably, I'm gonna say 300 to 400 yards worth of leaves for the curbside collection. So once you start turning those into compost, now you're a 3-year process. Now you've got 3 years worth of leaves out there, probably about by the time you're ready to use the stuff from 3 years ago.
yeah, the pile out there right now is pretty substantial. So imagine
Mm-hmm. And that's
three,
not all of it.
imagine
We have
three
more
of
Irving
those.
Center to bring back.
yeah.
Glenn, so we've been doing whatever process we've been using. People have been bringing stuff in and you push it back on a daily basis, I suspect.
Yep.
Do we have to do anything with that area that we've pushed back?
Yes.
Okay.
So
What is that?
we have to pull back the brush that was pushed over.
Yeah,
Not all of it. They just asked that we clean it up.
yeah.
And it's gonna be a large machine to be able to do that also. We'll either have to hire it or rent one. But at the same time, the tub grinder that they chip all this brush into, they have a large excavator that they use to feed this tub grinder. So it could all be done at the same
Do it,
time.
hire it out at one
They
time.
they could set up so where they're able to pull the brush off the bottom and then chip all that and then whatever else was out there now also.
Okay. All right. So
And
it's
I
not,
believe
it's not
you
a
want
rush where DP saying, get
6
that
months.
stuff, right, so,
He said
Yeah.
in 6 months he wanted that part cleaned up.
so in the spring, as soon as the snow's
By
gone, we could
then.
hire somebody out to take care of it.
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
It would actually probably be a better winter project
Oh, yeah,
because they're slower in the wintertime.
okay.
As long as we don't have a lot of snow.
Yeah, we ain't gonna.
I like your
I'm
thinking.
gonna hold you to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's all they said,
Okay,
to clean up the edges where we push them over.
all right.
And then just clean up the grade with soil and fill.
Yep.
All right. So
Okay.
we'll see some proposals.
Path forward.
We'll put together materials for your next meeting. Do you want us to hold off from starting paperwork on the general permit in the meantime?
Yeah, I do.
I'm fine with that.
I don't
Oh,
think we
oh.
need to put the time into doing it unless we think it's something feasible.
The, my comment was gonna be the permit's required for any one of those things,
Any of those things,
even leaves and brush.
and you
Right.
have
Yes.
to reapply
Yes.
every year anyhow.
Oh,
So even if you apply once,
So yeah, why, if it's gonna take 30, 45 days, why apply now, unless it's a fixed cycle every year, why apply now if we don't even know when we're gonna activate it?
well, do we need it to continue doing leaves?
that was my understanding.
Yeah.
So then, at a minimum, and it's no cost, so at a minimum, if we just apply for that, the general now, it's on file. It still
And it
doesn't
could
mean that we
still
have
only
to,
be just taking.
it's still just
leaves
gonna
and
be the
brush.
leaves and the e-waste.
What you all choose to take is up to the town.
Right, we're not obligated to do anything, but at least then we're in compliance with the general permit.
Cause we
And
don't
so
need an attendant and
you don't-
we have the piles now, we're gonna be setting them accordingly.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So it doesn't change anything except puts the general permit on file so that we're in compliance
Right.
to be able to take leaves and debris, or brush.
And e-waste is
And
fine
e-waste.
as is?
E-waste is
without an
fine as
attendant,
is right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good with that then? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll work with Jan on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is another thing. So right now, the town has not charged for e-waste. Every other town does. And I think we are getting a lot from other towns, friends, family, or whatever. We get picked up probably about 4 times a year, and it's averaged, I think, around $1,300 each time it's picked up. And we don't take any, we don't have any fees for e-waste.
You're talking electronic waste?
Yeah.
Correct, yeah, TVs, computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cost has been going up over the last few years.
I was gonna say, dude, I don't,
It's like
I don't know of
5,000, that's a
another
lot.
station that doesn't have a fee for that. I think everybody has. a
Every
fee.
town does.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually they're a big deal when a business or a town offers a free collection day. They're like posted everywhere. You see them around the state.
Yeah. So
They're
it's
not
just
very
something
often.
else to think about,
Yeah.
if whatever
As
moves
we're
forward.
talking about the whole,
this.
you know, permit and process.
Is our storage sufficient for that today?
Yeah,
Ish.
they come out, I usually let them know when we're like 3/4 full, and then they'll start scheduling. I don't think there's any more pickups now until springtime, though. They just picked up today.
I meant compliance wise. Or
Yes,
do we
it's
not know yet?
undercover.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's the requirement.
yeah.
Questions for us?
No, sir.
Concerns with anything on the general list at this point?
No.
Anything else?
Not on that, no.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do you
Can I make a request?
Excuse me?
While he's here, so we can get him out of here, can we deal with snow?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna say.
Yes,
I was gonna
yes.
say, while we have you here,
I was gonna let him sit first. I didn't do that to Chief Wells.
I mean, it's just a memo. It's not,
Yeah. Don't let me forget personnel because I just crossed it off my list. You know we're not there. Discussion regarding snow removal practices and protocols. So I asked Glenn to be prepared to discuss this tonight because or just, start the discussion. Since the pandemic, we've had some situations where we've thought about how do we have coverage if there are some people unavailable at any time during a snowstorm. Because we have a small crew, obviously, that pretty much is all hands when we have any significant amount of snow, especially. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked, I think, Scott, it might have been you that brought up just thinking about, personnel safety and hours and things like that. And what is that? How is that defined, right? We've gone through some of those iterations with the police force in terms of, hours and breaks and all those things, and just thinking about that because that's it's a nonstop process to some degree. So, so really wanted to bring that to have that discussion here about what are we thinking about for emergency coverage or any kind of backup coverage if we need it, and then what do we want to do? We want to make any adjustments to when or how often or when we start clearing or when we don't clear. And I know I know there's been anecdotal references to roads in other communities and that we don't want our roads to look like that. And I think we can all agree about that, but do we necessarily want them cleared as frequently as they are now or any of those things? And so it's just wanted to start the discussion as we're getting into the season.
so the SOP that you sent for snow and ice removal, the letter, that's current practice as of today.
Yes,
How's that working out?
it works great.
Working out, define that question.
It does. So we used to, when I first started, there was only 3 people that plowed the roads. There was one person on each end, and then the third person bounced back and forth from side to side. It works. It's not efficient. I shouldn't say it's not as efficient as what we do now. Right now, each side of town plows in tandem. And it clears the roads quicker, treats them quicker, and you stay on top of it. Each end of town is about a 3-hour loop to completely plow everything. So if you're getting an inch plus an hour of snow, you know, by the time you come back around,
It's a continual.
it's a continuous thing. So to stop and take a break, yes, we have in big, long storms. Sometimes it's a little harder to catch up afterwards. There's a lot of hills in Erving. Irving side is fairly flat, other than a few hills. Everything farly east pretty much it's a hill. So you want to stay on top of them. We want to stay on top of them. Because if we don't stay on top of it and police or fire need to get out, ambulance needs to get out, they're not going to get up the hill. So all the staff takes a lot of pride in the way that being plowed, in the way that their safety, they're looking out for the safety of everybody. So I would hate to see that practice change.
Considering our normal winters, do we have enough vehicle equipment and staff to do
We
a
have
regular
somebody for every
storm?
truck. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
4 and 4 effectively, right?
Yeah,
Based on what
we
you're
have
saying?
5 plow trucks.
Oh, okay, 5 and 5.
So we have some, if there's a mechanical failure, we do have another one.
Can we put a person in each truck?
Yeah.
Yep.
The only thing I was gonna say was, I know you said, sometimes you can take breaks and sometimes you choose not to, depending on the storm. Given the fact that typically speaking, this side of the town has less hilly areas, maybe having, if they're done, have them relieve the center to be able, take a quick break while the center's still plowing.
Oh, they do.
And so just to
Yeah.
ensure, because I'd hate to see people out there plowing for, 12, 14 hours without taking a break.
No, I can't say enough about this team,
Yeah.
for plowing. Everybody sticks around till it's done.
Yeah.
If one side of town gets caught up a little quicker, I mean, Irving Center, it's a whole different storm over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Usually once you get partway up Mountain Road and North Street, it could be raining over here and snowing over there.
Yeah.
So, no, everybody works very well together and helping each side of town.
Yeah. I don't want to see the service drop, but I also don't want to see people stretching themselves too far without
No,
taking care of their
understandable.
brakes and their safety.
Yep.
But I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
maybe-
there's no snow this year.
So we don't have a
just to
lot
be-
of off-street parking. Is parking a problem during the winter?
There is some people in town that continuously park on the roads. I was actually brought this up to Brian today, where I thought we had a parking bylaw on the streets. We don't. We have the ability to have vehicles towed, but not an actual parking ban, which is something that we'd like to work on.
I think we were talking about the regs. You were talking about where parking fits, and we didn't put it in there. So it's going to be a separate piece that we need to address. And that would fall under that, right?
Yeah.
And just to be clear, I didn't mean to say we didn't want to maintain service level when you said that. I realized it may have sounded that way, that we didn't want to. I didn't mean that.
No, I
I
didn't
think
take
we
it
all
that way.
like the way our roads are, okay? Yeah, amen. We're probably spoiled and we like it.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it because it's all of your team doing that, so. Yeah. So we have 5 trucks, but only 4 drivers, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't actually have all 5, we have 4.
Right. We have a
and
backup. We have a
truck,
backup truck.
Okay.
just to be clear.
Do we still have an on-call? Okay.
It was like that
I'm not
one
saying-
time, one storm, kind of,
Yeah,
that's the other, one of the
yeah,
other pieces.
we have people that are capable, on staff in the town that can plow. They have not been approached to see if they want to be on a call list to cover vacation, sick time. Wanted to meet with you all first and see what your thoughts were.
So the reason I asked the question is, just like we have a backup truck, I would like to think that we have backup people that can plow, so that we're always maintaining 4 people running 4 trucks, so you can keep the same process of 2 teams working in tandem, so they can keep up the efficiency. Should somebody be on vacation or out sick, that
Yep.
you can still have people that you can call on call, have them on as backups, should they be willing to do that. And, you know, we can define the pay rate of what that is, and if they're current employees, it might have to be, you know, overtime rate. We can work that all out, but, or maybe it's a set rate for plowing. I'm not sure, you know, how we'd have to break that down, but, you know, I'm thinking at minimum 2 people. If you can get 2 people on that list to give the chance for somebody to be on vacation, off for whatever reason,
Yep.
and, you know, by chance somebody else out sick, you can
Yeah,
still have
right now,
coverage.
vacations in the wintertime are very scarce.
Right,
People have made them and then canceled them, or come back early from them.
right. And I would love to have an on-call staff that says, go on vacation, I'll cover any plowing that might come up for that week that you're gone, don't worry about it. And that way people can take a breath and know that they can be gone for a week and things are covered, and they don't have to feel like they're trapped to the
Yeah,
plow
agree.
truck.
Yep.
And your 36, 48-hour storm, you can call a
Yeah.
crew in and, you
Yeah,
know, relieve
it
a
would
crew
be
for,
fantastic if we have another one of those. you
and
know.
rotate them over, you know, both sides and give the other guys a break and, you know, something, just that it helps with that too, right?
Yep. So I'm in favor of that.
Proposal to your next meeting,
Yeah,
on what that could look like.
absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And is there, I don't think there's any harm in finding out if there's interest, because if there is an interest, we should pursue a different path.
Other towns have used vendors as the
Right, as-
backup.
as a
So
backup.
that's another option.
Yep.
But those vendors are used every storm.
Right.
Yeah, they're not a backup, they
Yeah,
are
they're not
the
a
plow,
backup.
right? They are the
They're
plow crew.
hired out. You know, you got J.H. Roberts who takes care of most of Route 2 and, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll find too many vendors that are as an on-call. They want,
I don't think so. If they get a chance to make money, they're going where they're gonna
they're
make
gonna go and
guaranteed
take the
money.
guaranteed,
Yeah.
you know, contract over the, give me a call if you need me.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see if there's
Yeah, we can work on
interested
that.
people, and then, well,
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
All
Okay,
right.
I know Brian has offered.
yeah. Have you seen him behind the truck? No.
That's not a liability that the town would want to incur.
I don't want to see that policy rate.
Well, we can put our flashing sign up just like the Mass DOT asking for
Plow
plow
drivers.
drivers. It's been up for months. And
It'll have
Every
dollar
year.
rates that keep escalating
Yeah,
pretty soon.
they keep going up.
last
They
year.
can't find anybody to do it. So hopefully we have some, you know, locals that say, yeah, I can help out. I can do that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll look into that and
Yeah.
we can talk to a few of them.
All right.
Sure.
Anything we covered that, we didn't cover that you had around snow? Parking,
No.
we'll get it on a future
No,
list.
like I say, the parking ban, I think is something that the town needs. We have some repeat offenders all the time when they have a driveway to pull into.
For that, we can pull a couple models from your neighboring communities. I know some towns have a stated between these dates, overnight, the ban's in effect, like a blanket statement, and the borders of the town are posted that way. Other towns use like a blue light that when it's activated, that means that the parking ban's in effect. So every town's got their own approach to it, but we can pull a couple different models that you can look at.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure. Thank you all.
thank you.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay.
The only other highway-related one is the culvert grant. It's just an announcement.
It's an
I was
announcement.
just going to say, I was not until he sits down, but you did it for me.
Yeah, we don't need to call him back.
No.
No, not unless he wants to add something. He's welcome to at that point. Review of the proposed personnel bylaw draft, first read. Scott, you're intimate with it, I will say, because you've been leading that
Well,
effort
I was
with
actually
the
going to
team.
say, for the personnel bylaw, you know, Jen, myself, yeah, she's still here. Jen, myself, Attorney Higgins, and Brian have been working on this. However, I would give all the credit for the bylaw portion of it, for writing it. Brian did the the heavy lifting on pulling out all of the recommendations of items that don't need to be in a personnel policy or in a employee handbook or manual, and stuff that is generally ongoing, recurring, annually, static, not a lot of change in them, put them into a bylaw, give that authority back to the citizens, back to the residents. We won't have the authority. We're actually pulling it out of our authority to change it, putting it back into the hands of the town. And a lot of those that are in here should be under the control of the town and not of the boards. So that's why we're trying to create that bylaw. Our last bylaw, what was it, like a paragraph or something?
It says there will be a
It
manual.
says that there will be a manual. That was our entire bylaw. It just said there will be one.
No judgment.
So this is all new, but this is, I'd say 90% of this is language that we had in other places, but it was just cut and paste and pull it out.
Yep.
A lot of the standalone policies you see all came out of one big conglomerate, 140-page document that now becomes standalone policies, a policy manual, and now a bylaw, and they'll all work in conjunction with each other.
Correct.
Well, thank you all. It's a lot of work, and well, it's been a long time in the making. A lot of effort over a long time. And so I don't have anything. I want time to pour over it.
I was going to say, it's
so
substantial,
there's a
so I would
lot.
give
Yeah.
yourself at least a couple of weeks
Yeah.
to read it over and digest it. And
Yep, and review of the proposed personnel policies and procedures manual draft, first read as well. That's the complement here, and also very lengthy.
yes, and
And
so
a lot there that we need to be.
and the difference being, the manual is something that we are giving to new employees, and so we wanted them to be specific to a new hire, and not the new hire doesn't need to know all of the stuff that is at a bylaw level. That's a different document. So this is stuff that's really pertinent to somebody coming into the town as a new hire. Talks a lot about compensation, benefits, hours. So all the things you would think that a new hiree really wants to know, and it's readily available to them. And it's not 140 pages.
And changes on a frequent basis. More frequent than
It can be
the
changed,
bylaw.
if it's more palatable, it's easier to digest, and we can then go back in and change it as needed with a little more frequency, and then we're not trying to change a huge document. The previous document would have one paragraph edited, and it says revision on this date, and it was just embedded in a document. It was hard to see,
Is.
yeah, is. Because
Still
it's
for
still
now.
in play. It's still in,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So, I mean, thank you for both. And I don't have anything. I want some time to pour over them.
Yeah, I
Same.
saw.
And obviously, these are drafts and a lot of work product from the team, but they're just that, so we're still going
So
to look
the-
through them, and we may make changes.
yeah, and Brian, I think you mentioned this in the email maybe, but, we've had a couple of department head meetings to review this, get input, and make edits. And I think you'll be setting up opportunities to meet with staff or have them at least review it.
I wanted to bring this to you all first and see if there was any initial feedback that you had, if there was something drastic that you were concerned about, try to adjust that. But then, yes, I'd like to, in the next few weeks, schedule sit-downs with staff who are interested and walk through the proposed manual and get their feedback so I can bring that back to you all. Of course, employees are obviously invited to be at this meeting, but I think for some, having sit-down opportunities throughout the workday may be a different opportunity that they would be interested in. So if you're comfortable with that, I'd like to schedule those opportunities.
And this document is really a conglomeration of the efforts of the core group who's been putting it together for us. Feedback from all the department heads on administrative challenges, areas that are confusing for employees or very ambiguous.
Correct.
Wish lists of things that they want defined or would like to have that we didn't have defined. or have even as an option, as something that's available. Legal guidance, all of that put together. So it's really wholesale change from what we have today.
So,
I don't know, because I haven't, I want some more time through it, so I don't know if I have an answer for you this minute. I mean, if you're comfortable, and I'm assuming you are, just because you've been, intimate with it for a long time, then I'm fine with that. On the other hand, if we want to wait till we get to a second read and make sure there's nothing major that we want to hash out before we start, going further as this is
so
likely,
well, I was
directionally,
going
that's all.
to say,
I don't know.
my comment on that is, it's already part of the record tonight, and therefore
Yeah.
people can request to look at it anyways,
course.
even in its draft form. So I would much rather the opportunity for department heads, for Brian, for people that are intimate with this, to be able to sit down with staff and discuss it and answer questions, rather than just have them pull it up online and say, oh, this was part of the packet, and just read it on their own.
Okay.
There's a lot of questions still in here that they won't have that knowledge. They won't see the comments that are noted on it off into the margins saying, we have questions about this, there's questions about this. So I would much rather see those meetings happen as needed to be able to answer those questions and highlight the fact that this is not a finalized document. This has plenty of edits still to come to it. We did what we could to get it in front of the three of us, but now we're tasked with, finalizing it.
I'm fine with that if you are.
I read it for the first time today, and I didn't do a thorough reading. I kind of skimmed through it quickly, but I went through the whole thing, and it was very professional and very well written, and I think it does exactly what we wanted to do. So take your hats off to all those who worked on it, and it's a nice piece of work. So.
It's a lot of work. So, yes, if you have as people have the time to make that time available for the staff, go ahead. And, I mean, I think we're all looking
Yeah.
forward to any feedback beyond what has already been done.
Okay.
And everyone is welcome to come
Just
to a
wanna be
meeting too
very
and bring
clear.
it.
Just want to be very clear, though. If staff are reading this and going through and having meetings, there is a difference between a concern or a need that's not addressed, as opposed to recreating the wish list that gets started. Sometimes there's a lot of wish list items that people would love to see that,
Right.
especially when you start
Incorporated,
looking
yeah.
at benefits and compensation and all
Right,
of that. Those items are different than concerns or needs of this manual. So I just want to be
Right.
very clear that whoever's having that conversation with staff, that those are great to hear, but they may not be addressed while we're trying to put together this manual to get it out and make changes.
Agreed? Okay, we'll bring them back for a second read next meeting. That's plenty of time, right?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Review a request to amend the holiday benefit usage for prorated employees.
Hi, Jen. Yes, please.
Thank you for staying, and yes, please come on up.
Sorry we held you this long.
Yes.
It's a week long of meetings.
What's that?
It's a week long of meetings.
Yeah.
Understood. So, who wants to start?
I can quickly just do the high level of the
Sure.
request.
Please.
So as you saw in the proposed manual, the revisions that we've incorporated are a suggestion to remove a 1/5, I always call it the 1/5 because it just kept reappearing in the policy, as a way to describe the use of benefits for prorated employees. So if you took a 40-hour-a-week full-time employee, assuming they worked 5 days a week, and you broke out that 1/5 approach to benefit administration, it gives you nice even 8-hour days. If you are instead a 25-hour-a-week employee and you work 3 days a week, you now have a disproportionate usage of that benefit from what your normal schedule would be. And so that has applied to vacation, that has applied to holidays, it's applied to sick, it's applied to bereavement, it was everywhere in the policy. And so the policy manual suggests changing that to reflect a maximum benefit of 8 hours per day, because that's how we define a day here. But to remove that limitation, instead reflect on what the employee's regular schedule is. So if you're scheduled to work a 7-hour day on a Monday, then that was your schedule and that was your benefit. But we know that you all need time with that request. Because we're approaching a large gathering of all the holidays that sort of happen and are recognized in the next few months. And knowing that that manual may take several reads, may go well beyond 3 readings if that's what you need, we wondered if you would entertain a change to the way that the holiday benefit is being administered, to remove that 1/5 language and to allow us to recognize the employee's work schedule up to an 8-hour benefit.
And currently, they're using their time to make up those extra hours. So
Right.
they're using their personal vacation time to be able to make up those hours, which they typically take off work an 8-hour day, so typically it makes sense to be able to give them the 8 hours that they normally work.
And not having the current one right in front of me, the holiday pay is only if you regularly scheduled.
Yes.
Today,
It's
the current policy?
Holiday pay is if you're, if you're benefited, you get the holiday. So like even this Veterans Day recently, it was on a Friday. Most people, like the 3-hour, 25-hour people, don't work Friday, so they took Thursday off instead, or they could have taken the following Monday off. Otherwise,
They're
you could have.
they're still afforded the holiday. It's
Yeah.
part
Right,
of
right.
the compensation plan.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah, that's foreign to me, but that's
Yes.
what I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Private sector is
Yeah,
That
and
is
current
not
current
happening.
practice has
Past practice, this
Yeah.
is what has.
Yep. No, I just wanted to understand that.
Yep.
And the recommendation would be only if it's your regularly scheduled day, or it would still be that way?
It would still hold to the.
Suggestions.
Yeah.
no. The only suggestion is
Because
changing.
it says on the day you would have worked. So I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
That language is,
Understood.
Yeah.
would have worked
Right,
on the
I don't think we
day. If you
necessarily-
weren't supposed to work on the day, then do you still get it? I think the wording would need to be different if that's what we're saying. Just wanted to clarify.
Yep,
Right,
that's an important
I
distinction.
think we were working on that wording as well,
Right.
to make
Yep.
sure that it does reflect
Right.
if you're a benefited employee, you are getting the holiday pay. I mean, if you work work the holiday, you would get an additional 8 hours.
Right, if you can't, yeah. What if-
I have no concerns removing it, so
Okay. Thank you.
it makes
Yeah.
sense.
And so some of the other changes that allowed this to happen is we used to reference a lot of things like by the day. They would earn things by the day. And we've wiped all of that out. You earn things by the hour.
Yes, all based on hours.
And
Yeah,
it's all based
so
on
much easier,
prorated by
especially
the
for
number of
us
hours
too,
that
so
you are
thank
as an
you.
employee. So you're prorated based on your hire and your description of hours and your standard work schedule. So everybody can know upfront the number of hours that they will get annually for all the different types of holiday and leave and all of that. And then they can use them in hour increments throughout the year as they earn them. So that allows us to get rid of this whole 1/5 debacle.
And a lot of that policy is based on hours. The recommendation is the holiday pay is not. It's
Correct. The holiday.
standard shift hours up to 8.
Correct. Yeah. So if you normally are scheduled for a 7-hour day, you're going to get your 7 hours. Yep. Yep.
As opposed
What
to.
if you have variable hours?
I don't think we have anybody who has
No.
variable hours.
Okay.
What do you mean by variable?
Well, and not to pick on anyone, but I just, some of the library staff don't work 8-hour days. So what if it was a 6 and an 8 and 4? Because of the library hours, that's what made sense for the staffing plan. Then what does that employee get?
In that hypothetical, it would be whatever the regular scheduled benefit was for that day.
And what
Yeah,
if they don't
right.
work that day?
And I agree, we have to adjust
Because
that
now,
language.
but they would still get something. What is that? Right. So I just,
Right.
I'm not saying it to say we do or don't do this. I'm
Right.
just saying I think there's some
Yeah,
areas
it's
that
great
will
to
end
bring
up
up
in
these
the
scenarios.
1/5 conversation down the road someday unintentionally.
Right.
And I don't I don't want to.
Right,
The
no, that's
one-fifth
fair.
is not a fun conversation.
No, and I think
Very
currently,
confusing. This is better.
using
Yeah.
that as an example, I think they all work the same. You know, if they
Today
work,
they- yeah, I think
today
they
they
do.
do,
Yeah.
but we'll have to work in language
Yeah, just
that would
the
adjust
thought
the future.
process. Yeah. Even changing this now probably addresses everything today and is better.
Correct.
Right.
But iteratively,
Absolutely.
I'm assuming because personnel policy language is relatively the same, you were in favor? I think you said you were.
I am.
already,
I am,
so I
yes.
just-
I would like to see this happen. It'll alleviate a lot of concerns for staff to be able to use their time and receive their compensation of holiday pay. And for
Yes. Yes, it is
Yeah.
appreciated. Thank you very
the
much.
treasurer's office to be able to actually do that, you know, in a more simplistic way. So I'm in favor of it.
So not to be the naysayer, but I'm gonna ask the question. How do I phrase this? Do we want to do it on a time period that's a kind of a logical cycle rather than randomly in the middle of either a calendar year, or somewhere in a calendar year or a fiscal year?
I think
Because
we've
of
been
the
working on
equity
this-
and consistency.
I think
Because
we've
there
been
are other
working on-
holidays that people did or didn't get this kind of treatment in the same cycle, whether you want to say it's calendar or fiscal.
Gotcha.
Just posing the question.
Yeah, I just think
sorry.
sorry. This has been a long time coming. I think that this got started like pre-pandemic, I believe.
Yeah.
And we've been working hard to kind of get it been going and running. And I feel like this is, I mean, pushing it before the holidays is overdue. So I think, I don't know, I think it would be best if we could do it now and before the holidays, because this had been in the works for over 3 years. That I know a lot of employees were kind of frustrated with the 1/5 situation.
So to your point, yes, we may have missed some holidays this calendar year. I don't think that justifies us not to do it and force people to go through another cycle of missing the future holidays because we couldn't get it done by January 1st of this year.
Are you suggesting going retro back to the beginning of this fiscal year? Okay.
The
No, I'm
Pushing it.
not being a naysayer because I think it needs to change. I don't like
Yeah.
how it is. But everyone knew what they were getting when they got hired. It wasn't a surprise.
Right.
It might be confusing, but it wasn't a surprise. 1/5 is the language that was there when they accepted the position they're in today. So to say that. Now, generally, I would assume everyone who that applies to in some way other than 8 hours today, we're all treated that way who were in that boat together. So from an equity standpoint, they all either had that or didn't. So I don't know whether it's maybe an argument for doing it sooner. So just proposing the
And
question.
I think it
that's
affects a handful of people.
all. Yeah. Fair motion.
So do you anticipate that there's anyone out there that would be unhappy to see the 1/5 go away?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe the full-timers might, necessarily not agree with it. Maybe feeling, they work full-time, so they should get the 8 hours versus somebody who works 3 days a week gets their full 8 hours too. So I guess if you're looking at both sides of the coin, that's the only thing I could think of.
Okay.
Makes sense. Not to say we should incorporate it now, but I'm just curious. Is the holiday, getting the holiday, whether you work it or not, a municipal thing, or is it just a town policy today?
I can do a comparison of what other towns do.
But it's not
No.
law-driven or anything.
No, it's
No.
not logical.
No.
It's just
No.
a choice we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
It's definitely a practice that has long been held in the town, and I think it's based on the idea that the observed holidays are stated up front as a benefit for the employees. So anybody who falls into the benefited employee category, 20 plus hours a week, regularly scheduled, have just always received it.
I just asked because it's foreign to me. I don't,
No, understood.
in the private sector, I've never,
Understood.
you have to work it.
Yeah.
You aren't scheduled to work it, you don't get it.
Understood.
And for 85% of my fellow employees, they have to work it and they just get pay. Because
Understood.
we don't allow, they can't take days off, so. Anyway, I digress, but it was just to understand it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And typically, you have to work before and after a holiday to get your
Yeah,
pay.
you can't call it out, you can't, yeah, you're familiar.
Yes. It was new to me as well.
Those private sector employers. Any other discussion?
Yep.
Is there a motion from anyone?
I just want to make sure that if I can make a motion, I just want to make sure that this one paragraph, is it substantial enough to give you the authorization to make that one change? And it's holiday pay is based on the number of hours non-exempt hourly employees would have worked on the day in which the holiday is observed, up to a maximum of 8 hours. If that's our motion, Jen, does that give you enough?
Right, because that typically says that you had to have been scheduled for the holiday.
Right. And so
So-
that, you brought up a point
Just
that
change that language.
there's some,
Right, so can I?
Yeah.
You want me to?
feel free.
Should it, if I'm rephrasing this, holiday pay is based on the number of hours a non-exempt hourly employee normally works,
During the work week.
yeah, on a single, per day, in the work week, up to. So we take all the observed and worked on out of it, and instead it's just normally works per day, up to a max of 8. Is that,
Yeah, I'm just
Are
working
you-
on some different language.
okay. That wasn't very,
Yeah, it could be short and sweet and simple. Holiday pay is based on number of hours a non-exempt hourly employee typically works in a workday.
Yeah, I was going to say is regularly scheduled to
Right, yep.
work.
regularly scheduled shift length or something like, yeah.
I'll take a stab at it and see if if it captures it. So I'm going to make a motion that we change the holiday pay language in the personnel manual to read as follows. Holiday pay is based on the number of hours a non-exempt hourly employee is regularly scheduled to work during any given workday up to a maximum of 8 hours. Does that capture what we've been talking about for
Yes.
3 years?
Yes.
Probably you want to strike specifically, because our manual's not very, I don't know if you want to, but I would recommend that we probably say what we're striking in place. But that's up to you.
Yeah, there's more to it than this one line,
Sentence?
though.
Is that the sentence? Okay.
Yeah, so there's a motion out there, but before
Yeah.
we second it and move forward, holiday pay is based on 1/5. There's more to it than that, correct? I've got the
I mean,
person.
there's other context in the personnel policy, but that's the effective issue. Those two sentences.
Are the effective?
The holiday section
Okay.
is introduced with that first sentence, and in the new proposed edits, the current draft is introduced with this definition. So I
Right.
took the same sentence from the personnel manual, the current versus what's being proposed. So if we're striking that, we're replacing it with the other.
And the remaining holiday
The rest of the language is generally the same.
section language is fine.
Because you'd already previously added Juneteenth, so we've made other revisions to it, but
Right.
that's all there.
So since there hasn't been a second, thank you for that, because that's important that we strike the old so we don't have both languages floating around there.
To be clear what we're replacing. You said we're replacing, but what?
So you can amend this because you already have the language, but in the beginning of that, I'm actually going to change the motion, and I'm going to make a motion that we strike within the policy manual for holiday language reading. Holiday pay is based on 1/5 of the employee's regular work week hours, and replace with, and then you can continue
Yep.
the motion as read previously.
Second.
Thank you for that, Jake.
Yeah, no, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
It was a
for the
long wait
discussion.
tonight and for the last few
Yeah.
years, but thank
Yeah.
you for staying.
Keep meeting on it for the next 6, 8 weeks, 10 weeks? Hopefully not longer than that.
What did you say?
So we'll keep meeting on it for the next 6,
Oh,
8, 10 weeks.
yeah. Well, it shouldn't take us the time it took to get here to finish.
Right. Home stretch.
Review of the Maple Avenue landfill professional engineering services proposal.
This is your annual.
I was going to say, this doesn't change much.
Nope.
These
I make
services
a motion to support and accept the post-closure landfill monitoring and engineering service proposal for FY 2023 Maple Ave landfill site. Task 1, $13,200, and Task 2, $2,450, for a total of $15,650, accepted on November 14th, 2022.
Can I make a friendly amendment to that, Bill?
Sure.
Just add in task 3 for on-call engineering services. It's part of it, it's in there, unless somebody has concerns with their task 3 breakdown.
I have no problem with Task 3.
I don't know
I
how
don't
often.
either.
Yeah.
It's as needed, but
I was gonna say, we
future
never
It's a-
use it, but I just figured the
It's
motion.
a zero,
6 years we haven't used it.
Yeah. I don't
because it's
recall ever.
as needed. So
Right,
it's not,
right,
It's
right.
not assumed.
Right,
So it's
right.
billed at probably T&M,
Yeah.
time and materials.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Thank you.
Discussion regarding approach to the annual town report cover.
This was a request from Betts.
Tis time to prepare.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
I saw the request for recommendations for the dedication went out as well, so.
It does take about 5 months to do this, from planning through assembly, through multiple drafts of proofreading, and then finally to the printer in time for town meeting. So it does start now.
We do have an application process for that, don't we?
For the dedication, yes, not for the cover.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I actually like the idea. She asked, the 3 options that we typically would use: have us produce something, solicit ideas from department heads, or go out to the residents for an opportunity. I like the idea of going out to the residents. A lot of times you'll see you have area artists, you have photographers. Charlie comes to mind, who has taken beautiful, photographs of the town. And I think if there's people out there that have ideas on, what a good cover could be that represents Erving and wants to put something together, I would love to see their ideas.
I have an idea. The Usher Plant Park in the Great Blue.
Oh, the new hand.
Yeah. Highlighting that resource.
It's kind of a cool idea. Local artisan and in our park and
Yeah.
artwork. I was going to say the latter too, but since you have an idea, I didn't. So maybe I see no reason not to all 3. I mean, if the board has ideas, and you clearly do, if department heads do or residents do, put it out to all of them, and
Yeah, I mean,
then I don't know how we go to selection. That'll be the next question.
Right.
Who makes or how do we make selection? But I think why not everyone? If anyone has an idea,
Okay.
I would just put a
So a call for,
call for
Yeah.
ideas. And I would just put talk with Betts and just put a timeline on when they have to be in any submissions, to give enough time to make a decision and get it out for formal print.
okay. And then we can bring the submission ideas to the 3 of you.
Yeah.
could at least need like a paragraph description, and if someone's to the point of wants to present a picture or an idea, and that's fine too, but
Yeah.
at least a description of what it would be and how we would generate it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever Beth feels she'd need to be able to
Okay.
bring that to life, right?
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
We will make that happen.
Announcement of the FY23 Rural and Small Town Grant Award for the Wheelock Street culvert replacements. Rye, if you'd like to present it, you can. I will do it if you'd like. I know it's been out, and you, so I don't want to. It's just to formally say it, but it is your hard work, so I don't want to. I'll give you the opportunity if you'd like.
I had the pleasure of going out to Lennox last Wednesday to meet with the Secretary's office and the other handful of awardees who made the trek to the Berkshires. There weren't many of us, but those of us who were there were very enthusiastic. Yeah, and so we've received money to replace 2 culverts on Wheelock Street. The project was originally started with municipal vulnerability preparedness funds 3 years ago. We did the design and permitting, and then we had to just kind of sit on it and see if we could fund the rest of the project, and happily, we now have the funding to do that. So I can work with Glenn and Brian and Weston and Sampson to figure out a time schedule and bring that to you all of what that might look like.
Number? Number? How much do we get?
How much?
Oh,
do we get?
$330,000.
Yes.
Which covers?
We have it. I just wanted the public.
Yeah, just for, I mean, describe what we got, but
Yeah.
what was it? Which covers the anticipated full cost.
Yes, and of course, with every project right now, we don't know, but we'll
hope.
revisit that with Weston and Sampson and make sure. But until the bids come in, we won't know.
Right.
Sure.
I will probably propose to you that we try to have this ready for construction this summer. So I'd like to try to get everything we can done to make that happen. And our permits, I think, expire next spring. So I'd like to avoid having to renew those if possible.
Right.
Next spring?
I,
As in 24?
I think 24. I have to
Okay.
double check, but I know that when I was applying for funding, I was looking at the timeline because we had to do an Army Corps of Engineers permit process, and that's a lot more complicated than just going through the Conservation Commission. So it would be nice to get this like totally wrapped up and good to go.
Awesome. I didn't make the capital planning meeting. Do we have a capital request in for that? Just detailing it?
For the
High level?
Wheelock Street one?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I can put one in if that would be helpful as a placeholder.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just for them to
I was
have
gonna
it in
say-
their horizon. I know we have a funding for it, which is great.
Right.
But just to have it in their overall picture of
Okay.
what's happening, and I mean,
Number
I know
of
you're doing
projects,
project list. Yeah, you're doing
overhead.
that too, and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have one of the things that I've been working on is a grant list for what we've completed in the past year and looking forward for the next couple years, what it seems like what projects kind of align with the funding sources that I've seen. So I'm hoping to prepare that for capital planning as well as finance and you all to take a look at that alongside our master project list as we try to rearrange what we work on in the next year or so.
Yes. The ever lengthy list of things we'd like to do.
Let's just add one piece of context. Some people may be wondering why we're replacing culverts on Wheelock Street. There is a change in the way that culverts with active streams need to be approached. The old pull a piece of corrugated pipe across the road and just bury it in gravel is no longer acceptable, but that was done for decades. And so as communities are upgrading those stream crossings, they have to meet a new standard, and it actually has to allow for habitat to be conveyed through that space. So we selected Wheelock Street because it's not heavily trafficked. It wouldn't be very disruptive to do the work. We can work with the residents, and we need to get our brains around how you permit a project like this, how you construct a project like this, and then what that cost is like as we plan future stream crossing replacements. So we had targeted Wheelock Street as an area that wouldn't be too impactful, but it does serve an important area. We're right at the base of the mountain project. Briggs Brook comes through there. You have Route 2 and that whole area, so it actually is an important transportation corridor, and those culverts are very important. So there was a reason behind choosing Wheelock Street. It wasn't random. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say one of the things that I learned through that process was getting funding for projects that are considered low on a benefit cost analysis is challenging because they ask, well, if you have to detour around that location, how much is that going to cost? And if it's a dead end street, It costs nothing.
Right.
But I tried to make the argument, well, Route 2, if Route 2 ever washed out there, it would be a very large detour. But because they're intermittent streams and there isn't a history of flooding, they don't really consider that a high risk. So now that I have all this context, I feel like in the future, if we do when we do culvert replacements, we're going to have to keep doing this. I think I have a better understanding of what funding sources prioritize, which will be helpful.
I have some July pictures on Wheelock Street that
Yeah.
might beg to differ about eroding
Agreed.
from rain and water, but it's another story
Right.
Yeah.
from that storm.
All
where
of
we
the
lost the edge of the
all of
road.
the MVP projects that we applied for have come to fruition
I
in
know,
the
it's
last
awesome.
3 years.
I,
And so we haven't done the update of where we are on that plan because I think it's every 7 years we have to renew that plan. But we've targeted several projects that at the time people thought, well, that would be nice to have. And then we experienced some catastrophe that would benefit from that work. So
Yeah.
that planning effort was valuable.
Yep.
Well, and kudos for putting it together and getting it, even though it wasn't much ROI in the terms of the grant review group, I guess I'll say. So it's
Thank you
awesome.
all.
Very exciting. Thank you. More work, Glenn. I know you stayed to hear that.
Bring it on, Ryan.
All right. I think that wraps it unless I missed something.
One thing we missed. There's a first read on the clothing allowance policy.
Nope. Scott passed that over at 6:35.
Oh, that one too?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it.
Or
No.
we went back and forth on that.
Yeah, we went
You
back
wanna-
and forth.
You wanna, okay,
It
that's
doesn't-
fine. Review of the clothing allowance policy draft first read. So that's the first read. There is feedback from legal counsel.
Yep.
It's minorly
Minor.
substantive.
It's minor, yeah, it's minor substantive change, but
Yeah. And
they'll-
we'll have that in a couple days too.
for your second read, you'll
Legal
have some
action.
change on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
I didn't hear Bill at first. I thought he wanted to hang out longer.
I was like, well, that was a majority if I need to call for.